Evening, guys. So I just, I kind of want to clear a few things up, right? A lot of people get confused when they hear SEN or ASN parents. So parents with children that have additional needs. When you hear them say that they've had to deal with meltdowns, and you'll get people say, oh, well, they just need discipline and you just need to be tougher on them. And that is correct for a temper tantrum where ensuring that there is very clear boundaries and that you do obviously teach your child that that behaviour is not acceptable, which parents of SEN children, we do that as well. But the difference between a meltdown and a tantrum is that with a temper tantrum, whatever triggered that temper tantrum, whether it's they're tired or you've had to switch off their favourite TV show or they need to leave soft play. If you were to then give them whatever caused that temper tantrum, so you let them stay longer in soft play or you put their favourite TV programme back on, that would calm down the tantrum. When our children are in a meltdown, that's not the case. It doesn't matter what you offer. You could offer them £1 million and it won't calm the situation down. With our children, when they are in that meltdown, all we can do is ensure that they're safe because this is when they're at high risk of hurting themselves, others, and us. So all we can do is keep them safe and until they're able to kind of calm down enough that they can regulate their emotion. And then that's when we can soothe them and calm them down. And then obviously if your child is able, that's when you would then have the conversation that although we're aware they couldn't help that the actions weren't appropriate and that they could have quite severe consequences. Most children that's not the case. You just need to you couldn't have the conversation because it wouldn't register. So today we've had like one of the days where it has just been meltdown central, and the trigger for ours was algebra, plain and simple. And regardless of what we would have attempted to do, it wouldn't have calmed them down because one of the things about our kids is the reason that they go into these meltdowns is because they're unable to regulate their own emotions. And that's their body's way of trying to regulate, which is why we do need to just kind of let them have these meltdowns, but just keep them safe, which is exactly what we had to do. Now, me and Scott, we know that we are incredibly lucky that we are able to work from home, right? I do need to go out occasionally on visits, but primarily I get to work from home. But that also is really difficult when we have days like today. Now, don't get me wrong, what we were doing was put to the side until we dealt with and made sure that Kyle was safe and that he was calm. And then we had to go back to doing what we're doing in our work. Now, that in itself is exhausting. So, if you see a child when you're out and about and they are having a moment, they're maybe making loud noises, they're thrashing about, and you can see the parent just making sure they're safe and they're not getting irate, they're not giving them out trouble. And it's not a case that I'll just grab them and run, because sometimes that's physically not possible. Kyle's nearly the same size as me, so there is not a hope I could physically pick him up and take him out. So if you see that, try and not judge the parent or the person, because they're struggling. In that moment, they're really struggling. And one thing that is really, really difficult for us to be able to cope with while we're dealing with meltdowns is other people's judgments. It can be really, really hard. And when you're trying to kind of make sure that your child is safe, and you can clearly hear people either walking by or looking and they're tutting, and you're thinking, that's really no helping the situation. So try to please just, before you go to do that, just stop and think, right, wait a minute, this could be a child that's really struggling, this could be a meltdown, even if it's a tantrum. Kids are kids, they're going to have tantrums, right? And it can be really loud, it can be. But try and not be that person that judges other people's parenting styles, because you've got no idea what that parent is dealing with, and you don't. Because believe me, what you see on social media from us Zen parents, that's not even the tip of the iceberg of what we need to deal with on a daily basis. Do we speak to each other in regards to what we go through? Of course we do, because we don't fear that we will be judged, because we all completely understand where that other parent's coming from. But what we don't show you on social media is when our children have a bad day. Like today, I won't have Kyle on camera because it's been a difficult day, and I wouldn't do that to him. We always want you to see our kids at their best. But believe me, behind the scenes, our kids need to struggle daily, and so do we. So please, please, if you can take anything away from this video, it is just be mindful, offer help, no judgment.